everybody. Welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And today, it wasn't a very good day for Donald Trump. It wasn't a very good day for Israel. It's become more frustrating for Trump than anything else. The Epstein stuff just won't go away. It won't go away. His supporters are just, Republicans as a whole, I think he's at like 90% approval or something like that, which is nuts. But there's a lot of disappointment in him. And there's a lot of talk that maybe he's just too old for this. Maybe he's compromised by outside sources. But it's got to be nagging him. And listen, the man's like in his 80s now. I mean, he doesn't have the same fastball that he had 9, 10 years ago. He just doesn't. And we're now seeing, as the conservative media, like talk radio and Fox, and applaud all these tariff and trade deals, the G7 revolt has shocked a lot of people. And it has shocked Trump, and it has shocked, more importantly, Israel. Because now 3 countries, the first of which were France, Great Britain, and now Canada, all expect to recognize the state of Palestine as, the state of Palestine. And old Donald is not happy about it. And he scolded the allies today, our G7 allies, for doing such a thing. He chastised Western allies who are preparing to recognize a Palestinian statehood in response to this horror show that's going on in that region. It's an absolute horror show, a crisis beyond comprehension. And this has now cranked up massive criticism after Trump initially just brushed it off. The Trump administration officials continue to argue, including in today, Thursday, at the time of this broadcast, that plans from Canada, the United Kingdom, and France to recognize Palestine as a state at the UN General Assembly next month will just incentivize Hamas for prolonging its war with Israel. There is no war with Israel. The Israelis are going in there and they're starving these people. This is a humanitarian crisis here. And how anybody cannot see this? I don't understand what these boomers are thinking when they support these people, these Israelis. I don't get it. The leaders of each of these countries have cited that the starvation and deterioration of the conditions in Gaza, exacerbated by the Israeli military campaign and the restrictions by Israel being placed on allowing aid to come in there. So the Israelis are not only bombing and pounding the shit out of these guys, they're not allowing any medicine or food to go in there. And these are our greatest allies? This is who you want as a friend? And Trump and the rest of the boomer brigade, who are slowly but surely dying off, thank God, refuse to waver on their support for Israel. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters Thursday, and I quote, "The president's expressed his displeasure and his disagreement with the leaders of France, the United Kingdom, and Canada. He feels as though they're rewarding Hamas at a time when Hamas is the true implement to this is the true impediment to the ceasefire and to the release of all of the hostages." I don't know where these hostages could be. Have you seen what Gaza looks like? They completely leveled it. And if there were hostages there, let me tell you something, there's not much left. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said Wednesday that he intends to recognize Palestine as a state. Now, Trump is pissed off about this. And Trump suggested on Thursday that this move will complicate future trade negotiations between the neighboring countries. So basically what he's telling Canada is if you go against our daddy Israel, we're not going to trade with you. That's bully bullshit. What does Israel have on this country that we are willing to just piss the rest of the world off? I don't understand it. What the fuck could it be? Is it money? Can it always be about money? You're talking about three major allies to the United States. Three much bigger allies than Israel could ever dream of being. What the fuck can Israel have on these people? On us as a country? What? The three U.S. allies will join another 147 other UN nations in recognizing Palestine as a statehood. There are 150. Well, with these three here, there'll be 150 countries that recognize Palestine as a statehood. I mean, are they all wrong? If you look at the map, and I can get you a map here. If you look at the map, the only people that don't recognize Palestine are Western Europe and Americans. That's it. I mean, is everybody else wrong? I don't know. We just have this mentality that we have to stick with this slither of desert there, and we fund them, and we fund other countries not to mess with them, and it's just, I mean, it's enough's enough. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, another tool, dismissed recognition of Palestinian statehood as quote unquote irrelevant, while calling the leaders of Canada, France, and UK clumsy, and I quote, for offering a concession to Palestinian leaders before Hamas has released all the hostages it took on the October 7th attack on Israel. Now, again, that attack seems shady to a lot of people, but whatever. Rubio was stated as saying, and I quote, the UK is like, well, if Israel doesn't agree to a ceasefire by September, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state, end quote. Rubio said this on Fox News Radio this afternoon in an interview. Rubio went on to continues to go and say, so if I'm Hamas, I say, you know what? Let's not allow there to be a ceasefire. I was writing Rubio's quotes, and I copy and paste them just so you know. So these are not me paraphrasing. I got a headache doing that. Reading them, you get a headache. I mean, how did this guy become Secretary of State? He sounds like a moron. He goes on to say, if Hamas refuses to agree to a ceasefire, it guarantees a Palestinian state will be recognized by all these countries in September. So what? What does that mean? Does that mean those countries are going to give weaponry and tanks and planes and to Hamas, to the Palestinian state? No. What it does mean is they might go in there with cargo ships, with aid, with food, with medicine, and give it to these Palestinian people, these women and children who are dying over there. Now, if Israel stops it, or if Israel does something stupid like hit them, those countries are, guess what? NATO. And if they're NATO countries, the United States is bound to assist in a, let's say, answering Israel's aggression. Will it come to that? No. Israel's not that stupid. The United States won't allow it anyway. Thursday's flurry of scorn for Canada's plans to recognize the Palestinian statehood came after a relatively tame initial response from the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who is I mean, it looks like he's married to a guy. When asked about the UK recognizing the Palestinian statehood, Trump told reporters on Thursday he has, quote, no view on the issue. Of course he does. Of course he does. He doesn't want any of these countries to recognize this Palestinian state. And the question still begs to be answered. Why do these boomers support Israel regardless of what Israel does? It doesn't matter if they hit an American warship in the Mediterranean in the 1960s. It doesn't matter if they blow children up on TV in front of the world today. It doesn't matter if they're raping and killing women at their leisure. It doesn't matter. These boomers will say, "Oh, we love Israel." And until they're all gone, and until they have zero power in this country, and they've had power for way too long. And I'm looking into a story about the Democrat crisis and their party with the age issue that they have. I mean, they have people in their 90s almost. Until they are all gone, dead and gone, this will continue, because as stories have come out and as social media has shown, Gen Z and millennials are totally unsympathetic to Israel. You could see it on all of these protests that are going now. Some of them are actually Jewish kids on campuses that are unsympathetic to Israel. And if you saw the news this week, Harvard, these universities have to pay money, $500 million, $400 million, Harvard, Columbia, and they have to set up anti-Semitic secret police on their campuses because Trump is forcing them to shut down these protests on campus just for Israel. You can protest the United States all you want. Trump doesn't care how much you protest him, how much you mock him, but don't you dare go after Israel. What nonsense. And anti-Israel boycotts continue to gain momentum in the U.S. amid a fresh wave of targeted Israeli assassinations, further stoking tensions in the Middle East with renewed attacks and the starvation campaign that they're going through in Gaza. And there's concern among younger Americans who are increasingly unsympathetic to the Israeli cause. This includes a population that has shown little regard for any of the historical Jewish, let's call it, I don't want to use the H word, events that have happened against Jews in the past. Those days are over when you could just say, "Oh, well, what about the Holocaust?" No, they don't care. That's a boring history lesson to them. The fading lessons of the past to future American generations who knowingly or unknowingly will play a crucial role in determining Israel's fate later on in the future is probably Israel's greatest fear. Because if you get these Gen Xers, these Gen Zs, and these millennials, one day they're going to be the ones in Congress. They're going to be the ones in the Senate. They're going to be the ones in the White House. They're going to be the ones that are voting, and they're not going to want to throw $10-12 billion a year at Israel. And of course, we don't really study history like we used to. An NPR poll conducted in, I think it was back in April, indicated that 66% of millennials didn't know that Auschwitz was, much less has a historical reference. That's crazy to me. And Israel is just another aggressor to these two younger generations. And Generation X, I mean, we're pretty conservative. We grew up during the Reagan era. Let me tell you something. We've had it too. I don't see any reason why we should be so supportive of these people. And for Trump to threaten Canada with no trade deal, for him to scold these other countries for recognizing Palestine, you gotta wonder why do we go out of the way to support these people the way we do? And it must be because Israel's America's daddy. It must be. What do they have on us? I mean, we're a country of 330 million people. They're like, what, 8 million there? There's more people in New York. And that's if you don't count the undocumented people that are living there. In New York, forget about it. If you saw the polls now with this guy, this Indian Ugandan guy, he's gonna be mayor. The way the polls are looking right now, it doesn't matter what he says or does. He's gonna be mayor of New York, and you could say forget it. But yeah, it seems like there's a big tide turning here, and Trump can't stop it. He's too old. He's too old. We should have taken advantage of the fact that we still have the best governor in the union. He's the guy in Florida, Ron DeSantis. People mocked him. Oh, he's too short. He's too this, too that. He would have been so much better than Trump. And hopefully Trump doesn't fuck this up for the country, for the Republicans so much to the point where DeSantis doesn't have a good chance to win in 2028. Forget about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a moron. He's the biggest tool on the planet. That's why he's vice president. He does whatever Trump says. He's Trump's little creature. We have to hope that things stabilize a little bit. Things don't get out of control. And the Democrats don't have anybody that's worthy anyway. But you got to remember, it's very hard. It's very, very hard if the incumbent president sucks really bad for the next same party candidate. Very, very hard. Doesn't matter who runs against him. People voted for Barack Obama. The guy was a fucking community organizer. He became president. 2 terms. Yeah, let's not make that mistake again. And of course, the major news that has come out that you probably haven't heard of is Netanyahu's devious plan to clear out the Gaza Strip if the G7 countries recognize Palestine. Netanyahu has reportedly accelerated a plan for voluntary relocation of Gazans to foreign countries, Ethiopia, Libya, Indonesia, among others, within weeks, especially if there's no hostage deal raised. Mossad is engaging with more countries, which means they're either paying them or threatening them to accept these people. Doesn't this sound like forced deportation to you? Sounds like a good idea. Just pick people up and move them out to countries that probably don't want them. Maybe we should do something like that. Maybe the Europeans should be following Israel. Maybe Israel isn't so far off. Now, this move, which would see migrants leave via Israel and Jordan, is also aimed to maintain coalition stability by appeasing far-right Israeli politicians, because Netanyahu is under fierce pressure from these people. They want to get those Gazans out. They want to make Israel whole. They want that whole area for themselves. The reason why they want to make that whole area for themselves is because they had this crazy idea of building their own canal that will go through. So you don't have to use the Suez Canal, that you can use this Israeli's canal that can go through Israel, where Gaza is in the southern tip, into the Mediterranean. This would also lead to the annexation of northern Gaza, which means that everybody that is not Israeli is out. Now, the U.S., according to sources, has been approached for support. I don't see Trump saying no to this. I mean, how can Trump say no to mass deportations in Israel, but yes to mass deportations here? And if you don't leave, they'll probably just kill you or let you starve or let you die. So these people have no choice. And this is the way, unfortunately, things like this have to be done. We in America are way too weak. We have an Anglo-American, an Anglo-Protestant way of doing things, which is slow, stupid, and weak. And we try to do things through the legal system, and of course it takes forever. It costs a ton of money, and nothing ever happens. These people here, the Middle East, they don't believe in such things. They want results now, and Israel is going to get those results. Let me see if I can show you. Here are the countries in green that recognize a Palestinian state. It's a lot of green there. And you know, it's well, Spain and Portugal look like they recognize it, and I think that's Ireland and Iceland. So there are more than I thought. But yeah, that's what we're looking at now. Now we're going to add Canada, we're going to add England, and we're going to add France. And once you add France, you might get Italy, you might get Germany, and then if you get Germany, you'll get Belgium and the Dutch. And if you get Germany and you get Italy, you'll probably get Poland, and you'll probably get the Eastern Bloc, the Eastern countries there, like Greece. I can't see if Greece is there, but you'll probably get most of Europe by next year. And the U.S. will be on their own. With maybe Australia will probably, and New Zealand will probably fall in line too. But this doesn't look good for Israel. This is not a. They are now the villains of the world. It's finally come out, and social media, the unstoppable force that social media is the reason for this. 30 years ago, you would have never have seen these atrocities. You would have had Jewish media in the United States telling you everything is great, we're the good guys. Now it's social media. Those days are over. And millennials and Gen Zs, as warped as their minds are, they also see the atrocities here. And they recognize it. And maybe, as manic as that sounds, maybe they're the ones that are going to break the chains that Israel has on the United States. So anyway, how do we leave you? Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Be careful out there, my friends. Satan is busy, busy, busy. Be a man, have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for.